Hello everyone! I hope everyone had a good Halloween if you celebrated. Today I will be drawing Nami and Robin from One Piece in some Halloween outfits. No particular reason for that besides wanting to draw some cute costumes, so let's get into it. First, as always, I was sketching the figures and trying to make everything look correct, or in my case as correct as possible, to then add the clothing. I was using a new technique I learned for drawing heads, and this drawing was my way of figuring out how to do this in a proper drawing. What do you think? I think this helped me since they definitely look better now, but something is still off. Maybe you can point it out to me. That would help me a lot. This Halloween speed paint also took longer than I anticipated because Krita kept acting up and I didn't know how to fix the issue without deleting my speed paint. At this point I was already in the coloring stage and didn't want to lose everything, even if it will come out after Halloween. These technical difficulties were also the reason why I wasn't able to post this drawing on time. I was planning on posting it on Halloween of course, but by that time I was still struggling with Krita. Turns out Krita named all the files wrong and didn't want to export them because of that. I had to go and rename every single file before being able to export my speed paint. There were thousands of frames, so I had to download a program to manage all of that. By the time I had that done, I was so exhausted. Fixing the problem wasn't even what drained me. It was the fact that for days I had no idea what was wrong in the first place, so I just tried everything that came to mind. It took so long just to figure out what I even had to do. But now everything is fixed, and I can finally start talking about what I did here. As you can see, I have the bodies almost done, and I added 2 of Perona's ghosts in the background to match the theme. Then I worked on the faces and the bodies for them both. I was struggling with the bodies, which remind me that I definitely need to do a study on that. Should I maybe record that and post my progress in a dedicated video? I have been thinking about doing something like that for a while now, but I wasn't sure if people would even want to see that. Tracking my progress like that might actually be fun, so leave a comment if that's what you want to see, and I'll give my best. Now you have most likely noticed that I've been working on the clothes, which already means it's probably time to mention that this drawing was inspired by a spread Oda did for Halloween. The only thing I changed was that I gave them lollipops to match the Halloween theme. But that was also more of a last minute decision because I realized that I hadn't done anything with the hands yet, and I needed to start doing line art. As you can see in the sketch, I drew Nami's tattoo and the pumpkin face on her dress, but for some reason I totally forgot to add both in the final drawing. And the worst thing was that I only noticed my mistake after I had posted my art on every platform. But I can't help it now, so just pretend it didn't happen, okay? Thanks. And while I'm doing line art, I am doing my obligatory mention that I have a Patreon. For $2 you could support me a lot on my journey to making art my job. Right now it's just my hobby, but it's been my goal to make this my job ever since I was a kid. On my Patreon you can find extra art, early access to videos, and other neat stuff. But don't worry, you subscribing or watching my stuff also supports me greatly. Now back to the video. This drawing has a lot of detail compared to my usual drawings that only feature one person, so I will probably speed this up in order not to waste your time. When I realized I had both Nami and Robin almost done, I started to focus on the line art in the background. I already drew the ghost, but I knew that more was needed to make this look better. So I started by adding a curved fence. That's all I needed to do for actual line art. I was going to do the rest after the base colors with simple shapes. You will see what I mean later. At first I struggled with the skin colors because I didn't want them both to have the same skin color. That would probably look weird since in real life people's skin colors rarely ever match perfectly, so I got to thinking. I remembered how they changed Robin's skin color after the time skip, which caused outrage among the fans. The fan theory on that was that she now wasn't living in Alabasta anymore, so her tan just gradually went away. Oda also said that she would be Russian if she lived in our world, so I guess that makes sense, but I just miss tan Robin. However, what they did to Usopp is just inexcusable. In no world does it make sense that he got lighter skin after the time skip. I get that studios can make mistakes, but this seems like a conscious decision they made. After all, he keeps getting lighter and lighter. But enough about that, I guess. With the base colors done, I started to shade the eyes. At first I wanted to experiment with Robin's eyes, but that didn't work out, so I just drew them the way I usually do. After that it was time for me to come back to the background and color everything that has line art first. Then I drew the moon in the background, and bit by bit I was working my way through the background, tweaking things here and there and adding other stuff to make my drawing have more depth. Now it was time for shading, and as always I shaded all volumes with a bright blue first, to see if I have everything covered that will have a shadow cast on it. Once again, because I was drawing 2 characters, this took me longer than usual, but once I had that done, I was ready to replace the areas with the actual colors I needed. Shortly after that came the ambient occlusion, which I also did in blue at first. After changing that blue to the actual colors as well, I had to add a Terminator layer and some blush on the skin to make it look like they are actually alive. It's a little hard to tell in the recording. While adding the highlights on the hair and body, I noticed that the ghosts still looked a little flat, so I gave my best to shade those as well, and that helped a bit. That's when I was reaching the end of my drawing process. I knew that the only things left to do were to put my watermark on there and add some light, so I did that pretty fast. So, what do you think of this drawing? I think it was a good way to practice what I have learned over the last week, and hopefully you can see some improvement. That's all for this speed paint, and I hope to see you in the next video. Subscribe if you don't want to miss that. Take care!